Back in the day, as they say, when times were slower and simpler, families like mine might pack a picnic lunch and their swimwear and head to a place like this. It's Marlin Lake, and it's a hop, skip, and a jump from Bethlehem. And it was just enough of a drive for us to make it seem as though we were off vacationing somewhere. When I was a kid and before I paid attention to the drive, for all I knew, we were in the Poconos. But we weren't. We went south to this lovely man-made lake near Wassergass. The Lower Saken Township landscape has changed drastically with the coming of Interstate 78. But Marlin Lake, a man-made swimming, fishing, and boating basin tucked among mature pine trees, retained its rural charm after 60 years. Perhaps the fact that the interstate's path missed the 25-acre tract is fitting. The lake was one of the best-kept secrets in the Lehigh Valley. In fact, surrounding trees keep private the well-manicured recreational area. The lake is situated such that only return visitors, those attracted by word of mouth or those curious enough to pull in the lane, get the full view along Lower Saken Road in the Wassergass area. Families were the primary users, although class reunions, company picnics, and similar events have been held here. An effort is made to keep an atmosphere appealing to families, both for safety and the enjoyment of all patrons. The lake itself covers about 8 acres and is about 10 feet at its deepest point, where boating was permitted. A cordon swimming area is up to 5.5 feet deep. The water quality was tested weekly by the State Department of Environmental Resources, and each year clean sand was added for the beach area. Fishing was also permitted. The natural supply of fish has included bluegill, perch, and catfish. Facilities also included pavilions, with capacities ranging from 75 to about 275, and an additional picnic grove for families. Areas were available for volleyball, softball, badminton, and croquet. An unusual assortment of birds could also be viewed, including peacocks, golden pheasants, doves, and pigeons with fancy plumage. Marlin Lake has always been mostly a local attraction without elaborate gimmicks, previously drawing perhaps as many as 2,000 on a good hot Sunday. The owner of the former J. Fischel and Sons, a Hellertown excavating business, had the idea of digging his own lake, which was much cheaper and easier than for the average person. Fischel bought the swamplands at the current site in 1960, added topsoil, and dug a lake. Opening day was Memorial Day, 1963. Finding a name for the lake wasn't so difficult either, as he combined portions of daughters Margaret and Linda's names and called it Marlin Lake. But Marlin Lake was really Fischel's second such project. He launched his first effort in the 1950s when he scooped out a pond on property that he owned along Evergreen Drive next to the Black River. A few years later, he dug out a larger area adjacent to the first pond, added landscaping and a pavilion, and had the predecessor to Marlin Lake for personal use. He recalled that friends urged him to charge admission and offer use of the facility to the public, but he said he did not want a business in his backyard. Consequently, he built Marlin Lake a few years later but maintained his Sidersville basins for his own enjoyment. Fischel owned and operated the lake until 1970, leased it for 5 years, then sold it. The facility fell into disrepair and he took possession again in the mid-1980s before selling it to another family. Today, Marlin Lake joins a long list of places that no longer exist, at least not in their original state, as the Bethlehem area continues to change.